joining. This is Chris Emke, and you're listening to the Diesel Performance Podcast. Today, I'm super excited. We have another UCC competitor for 2025. Mike Brown, how the hell are you doing, man?
Doing good, man. How about yourself?
It's crunch time for us at the shop, and we're not even competing. We just have a booth and, get to hang out for the weekend. I would have to assume that you're in a similar situation.
Yeah, definitely. A week ago, we wasn't great. The truck didn't have an engine in it, and, we ended up at Fire Pump last week, got the engine in, and currently the only thing it needs is some axles, and we're on our way to Nashville to get them picked up.
Well, I'll say that you're further along than a majority of the contestants, right, if you will, the competitors that we've talked to. I think before we dive into the build or into where you're at currently with it, to our new listeners or someone who's just recently starting to follow the Ultimate Callout Challenge, can you give us a little bit of background on you and then a little bit on the truck?
Name's Michael Brown. I'm like 35. Been into diesels for about, 8 years or so, kind of heavy. Done UCC last year. We got third place with a mega cab dually. We had the heaviest truck there. Made 2,400 something horsepower. I'm a mechanic during the day, work for the post office, and then just kind of me and some friends fill around the shop. And lucky enough to have a bunch of friends that are pretty skilled and don't mind helping out on all my bullshit.
Now, you mentioned that last year you had a mega cab dually, Cummins, of course. Are you coming with that same truck again to UCC 2025?
Negative. We bought a regular cab, long bed, try to do the race truck thing, make it lighter.
Okay. So. Now, lighter truck, regular cab, long bed, cab configuration, as far as like the power plant and the transmission go, are those going to be the same of what you had in the mega cab dually prior, or are things changing there?
They're similar. Last year we had a deck plate I assembled and stuff, made 24, something like that, and then we ended up cracking the block, right after UCC. Well, even at UCC, it was starting to mix coolant and stuff, and we were, having issues. We ended up running actually all of UCC, no coolant in it, because didn't want to be that guy and hold the track down or something, or put water on it. And so this year we ended up getting with E&J, got an enforcer put in it, and we'll see how it goes. They do their sleeves a little differently, so hoping we can kind of hold it together that way. We do run compounds on it and pretty hard, and like everybody else, we're trying to make a big number on the dyno. Transmission is still a 48RE, Cornerstone Performance. Alex, he's in Texas, he's taking care of us on it. Got a Stancher input in it, and then the rest of it, this last year's truck, it was street truck. It was, up till UCC, it still had, full interior, everything. Right before UCC, we yanked everything out of it and tried to make it light, and it still came in like 7,100 pounds. This one's got a, what's left of a dash in it. There's no metal or nothing, and then, still has door panels, steel doors, but it's 2,000 pounds lighter straight off the start.
Now, the background when you had the mega cab dually, you'd said that it was a full interior truck leading up to, prior to UCC last year. What was the purpose of the truck? Did you do more like dyno stuff, sled pulling? I would assume it wasn't necessarily much drag racing.
Yeah, no, it sucked, man. It was kind of like a fat kid trying to run a marathon. So that truck, mainly we done sled pulling with it, started doing some dyno stuff with it, enjoyed, I like doing that. Everyone gets, you like making a number, and, it kind of gets addicting after a little while, try to just keep getting better and better. But we mainly sled pulled with it just because it was, heavy, and just the, longer wheelbase and being a dually kind of helped with that. So just kind of, focused on that for the most part. And then we decided we'd try that. We'd done the KOS thing, and, KOS is a long way to travel, and then, Indy's a lot closer to us, and kind of seemed like it was something we didn't expect to do well at all, much less place. It was one of those just, the goal was not to come in last place, and ended up getting third, and we're happy with that. And then, kind of grew from there. I talked to Levon. We were actually at Levon's when we found out the block we cracked last year. And I was like, man, what do I need to do? I'm tired of cracking shit. Because I've cracked 6 blocks in that truck now.
Oh, wow.
And Levon was like, need a lighter truck. Quit trying to, we can sled pull. The dually went a 606 at 123. at 7,100 pounds, which took like 2,000 or 2,100 horsepower or something. He's like, man, take 2,000 pounds out of that. You can do that on 3/4 of the horsepower, and hopefully shit's going to live a little longer. So that pushed us to hunt down a regular cab and start going from there.
Now, going into UCC last year, when you think of the whole weekend as a whole and all the competition that was had, was there a single event that maybe you underestimated, or was there one event that was more of a struggle than the rest?
I'd say drag racing went a million times better than I thought it would. Like I said, I had a goal. I remember on our interview last year we talked about it. The goal was a 650, and hell, Levon loaded a nitrous tune-up, and we went a 606 straight off the gate, and I was done. Like I really wanted to get that 5-second pass just to screw with Patrick, but we ended up just leaving it alone at 606, and then the sled pull honestly was probably where we didn't do as good as I wanted to. I had hit overdrive. We knew we were going to have a bunch of wheel speed. The track there is never great, really, and so ended up spinning. Just blowing tires off, hit overdrive, and the truck just fell on its face. I think we still ended up, I kicked overdrive off and fed a bunch of nitrous to it, and I think we still ended up pulling like 200 and or something like that. It wasn't wasn't the top 3 finish in that event, but it was enough to the top 3 overall.
Okay. Now, with the preparation of last year, getting last year under your belt, is there anything that you're planning on doing differently aside from, the cab configuration change and things like that? Is there anything that you're looking at doing differently, or kind of maintain what you did last year?
Try to be consistent. I mean, the configuration we got this year definitely should be better for drag racing. I mean, we were 6/10 or something behind the fastest, or no, hell, I think Kenny got real fast. We ended up, we were way behind everyone else in drag racing. But I mean, that's one main thing. Again, I still don't have a whole lot of experience drag racing, so kind of hope for the best and try to take advantage of some testing with that.
So then going into 2025, where do you have your sights on? I know you have a truck that's more geared up for drag racing, but is there anything you plan on doing different? Maybe higher dyno numbers, dirt drag, or sled pull? Like, where do you go into 2025?
Definitely want to go faster. Like I said, hoping, anything 550s or faster, would love to go. Dyno, I mean, kind of like everybody else you're probably going to interview. I mean, I would really like to see that 3,000 one time. Keep telling my wife I want to hit it one time, and then I'll probably call it quits for a minute. And then sled pull, I mean, hopefully, not hit overdrive, or if we do, make sure we've got enough nitrous to keep her spinning and don't bog down, and just improve better overall. I mean, I'd like to do third or better. Again, don't want to go in last place. So as long as we don't come in last place, I consider it a win to compete at that level.
Well, I mean, literally the next question is what's going to be a W for you? You first year in, you get third place, which is no easy task to say the least. Definitely some competitors are shuffling. Some guys that weren't in last year are, and vice versa. Are there any competitors going into 2025 that you have your eye on?
Me and Josh are frenemies, is what my wife says. We're friendly, but we both, are very competitive and try to get each other.
Yeah.
I definitely want to try to beat Josh at some point.
You're the first person that we've interviewed to call somebody out. Thank you.
I mean, I try to do it all the time. I mean, Josh is one, like I said, definitely, he's super competitive, and I mean, I talked to Josh Friday on the phone, was calling us when we were at Firepunk and everything. It's super helpful and stuff, but I mean, he's had a really good program for a few years now and has been very successful with it, and it'd be cool to beat him. We got Greg last year. I like screwing with Greg, but I think he's out this year maybe.
I did not see him on the list. All I saw was a post that he'll have his billet motor in his 05 on display at the booth.
Yeah, so. I think he's got a coke can engine, bringing it to show it off or something.
Yeah.
And then, I think he's going to be there dyno and selling T-shirts or something. But then, like I said, Josh is one. Chris is one. I've been friends with Chris for a few years now. Of course, friendly competition matter. I think who else on there that's, kind of Colt Carter's one I'm friends with. Me and him text and call back and forth on, what numbers, what we're making. We're both running similar setups on fuel and stuff. So, I would say that's some of them that definitely got my eye on, trying to, watch posts and see what they're doing and, kind of playing our stuff. But
Do you predict that a top 5 finish, it's going to be all inline Cummins engines?
I'm saying it one more time.
Top 5, all Cummins.
Uh-huh.
What do you think?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. I really do.
I know our Duramax guys. I think I've seen Cody Hawk and them are having some engine issues, and hopefully are having it all. Going to have it back together and stuff. And I think unfortunately, I think they're going to be untested up there, so that's going to kind of hurt that. The Fords. We got Denny and stuff. Denny's awesome, super nice guy, but it's just hard to hang, especially on the dyno with them. I think there's just a lot left on the dyno that the Cummins platform just jumps way ahead.
Definitely advanced. I don't know if it's architecture. I don't know if it's just what the aftermarket's gravitate towards to push. Tony Burkhart for years, pushed the Duramax envelope and proved that, he can beat the inline engines, but he's on a very small island of his own. I'm excited to see Cody Hawk. I'm excited to interview Cody Hawk. We're going to interview him here later today. I know the setup on the photo, a couple photos of his setup looked pretty gnarly. It looked pretty cool to see.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so, like I said, I've never spoke to Cody. I've actually talked to Maury, which is helping him, Maury Lowe, competitor last year. I had to get a set of axles overnighted from Maury the other day. That's what we're going to pick up. So that's, they're all seem super nice guys and stuff. I think they picked the wrong engine.
Oh man, you know what? I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all.
I got a buddy of mine that was diehard Duramax guy, GM tech, all that shit. And his race truck and his pulling truck are both Cummins because he said he didn't want to work on them all the time. So, it's just the nature of it.
I always joke around with a lot of the shop owners that we do business with. Their shop doors stay open because they work on Duramax or Ford. And then they choose, the Cummins platform to go have fun because, fortunately, it's probably the cheaper alternative to go fast, when you look at the three.
And like I said, the aftermarket is just so plentiful with stuff for it. If you're going to build a car to go drag racing, might as well build a Fox body because it's going to be your cheapest alternative. Same concept. No,
you're not wrong there, and there's so many recipes out there, that you have to kind of work with. Now, we were speaking a little bit before the interview, and you had mentioned that last week you were at Firepunk on the Firepunk dyno. So you have Levon doing the tuning on the configuration on your truck, correct?
Yeah, Levon tuned it last year and done it this year for us. Kind of always trust him to take care of it. He ain't going to steer us wrong, and he's put plenty of people in the winter circle, so that's where try to let them take care of as much of it as we can. We were up there. We had to put the engine in the truck a week ago, sitting there with no engine in it. So we towed the truck up there. Levon let us use the shop and, put the engine in, dynoed it, broke it in, made our fuel on, actually picked up like 200 horsepower on fuel only compared to last year's setup. And then, made made 2 nitrous hits, just kind of make sure fuel pressure and stuff done what we wanted and could maintain rail at, the pressure we wanted.
Can you give our listeners a little insight? What did it make fuel only?
We made 16, 30 something, I think, fuel only.
Okay. And then you did a couple baby nitrous runs just to make sure it all works.
Yeah, we made like 18 something, and 2013 I think was our highest on nitrous. Just like I said, playing with duration and just seeing where we could maintain rail pressure at a given duration. So
now when you go into a show like this, I hear guys, they're going to swap out turbos, they're going to swap out, have extra transes, extra engines, they're going to swap turbo configurations depending on, the competition that they're going to be in.
Yeah.
What's your strategy, or what's your thoughts on that?
I don't want to swap anything I don't have to, except tires. Like I mean, in a perfect world, I don't want to swap the damn thing for tires. But realistically, I mean, we've got backup set of chargers, the Dodge, so I got backup transmissions. I've got backup axles, drive shafts, transfer cases, ECM harness, fucking injectors, spare 14 mil pump. Like, we're trying, hopefully we don't need anything, but plan for everything.
No, it's a good way to go about it.
Yeah, I'm hoping the only thing I got to do is swap bottles and tires. Like,
I mean,
that is the goal.
That's a win all on its own, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, last year we were fairly fortunate. The only thing we did was really the only failure that that we had to work on the truck was we rattled the flywheel bolts, flex plate bolts loose on the crankshaft.
Okay.
So we had to ended up having to pull the trans and redo the crank, put new bolts in the flex plate, and we done that on drag race day, knocked it out. We pulled and inspected the trans just to make sure everything was happy, put it back together, and rocked it. But I mean, we're kind of spoiled to that being the only thing we had to do. I know in years past, just as a spectator at UCC, how we killed a transmission and shit like that, drag racing. So I mean, I'm prepared to do whatever, but really hoping I don't have to.
Well, that's a good way to do it, right? I mean, the weekend's already stressful enough.
Yeah, we're bringing a buddy of mine's pulling truck just for spare parts. It's a truck, it's got a 484 on it, and makes the engine's made 2,000 horsepower and stuff. And we're literally just bringing it for backup, whatever the hell I need. Oh. So by the end of the weekend, it's liable to be a shell.
That's not the goal, though. That's not the plan. Just in case.
Yeah, that's not the plan. But like I said, we're prepared to. It's one of those. It's like, well, we could bring an engine. And he's like, well, I'll just bring my truck and we'll take the truck out of it. I'm like, or we'll take the engine out of the truck. I'm like, well, that's perfect. It's a lot easier to move around than an engine.
Not everybody has friends like that are not only willing to take their truck, but know that they're bringing their truck to donate as parts for a competition.
Yeah. Well, they've got deck plates sitting around, so I'm going to bring a deck plate as long as I was willing to pay for the new one when I blow it up. Because they all know that there's kind of put it. I don't want to blow it up, but I'm not scared to.
No, that's why you're competing, and a lot of guys don't, because I think a lot of guys are afraid to have that type of carnage and have to deal with the aftermath of that.
My shit stays broke half the year anyway. It'll be all right.
Well, on that note, as we're going into this, I know you said you're going to be heading down there tomorrow. As you're finalizing your final prep, getting axles and whatnot, is there anyone you want to say thanks to, or anyone in your camp that you want to highlight going into this weekend?
Yeah, man, all the companies that have helped, Flux, Don and April have been awesome. Keaton, Samples, SPFF, like Keaton done all our piping last year, done our piping this year, went swap intercoolers and stuff. Him and Daniel Hargrove went with us last week to dyno and set everything up and, set the engines in, and, it's been awesome. Said I got Michael Myers riding with me, put thousands of miles on the truck, going and getting parts or engines or tires or pistons or whatever the hell we say we need. My wife, of course, she deals with me and the stupid stuff we decide to do. We got Taterville, Tate's been awesome on turbos the last few years. We stepped up from a 76 millimeter to an 84 on the manifold for this. This year's the only turbo change we made. Hot shots, Kyle and them, of course, helped with all the fluids on the truck. Just kind of a bunch of people. Everyone kind of chips in and helps a little bit. There's no one just writing a blank check for it or handing us thousands of dollars and saying, here, build the truck you want. Like, this is all just your normal, regular guys that work day jobs and just put it together in the afternoons.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing the truck in action. I'm looking forward to, seeing you this weekend as, we'll all be down there. We wish you the best of luck. And we just can't wait to see the truck in action.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. All right, listeners. There'll be more Diesel Performance Podcast coming at you.
My shit stays broke half the year anyway. It'll be all right.